So the first one I wanted to ask is, because you said something about immunity, like natural immunity and these things. So I thought it would be good to maybe have you point out the differences, similarities, and natural immunity, what we can get through when you get the vaccine. And then could you also maybe fit in why herd immunity is really the goal of what we are aiming for?
Our immune system is a marvel. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Uh, the we have two immune systems. One is our innate immune system, which basically tries to keep germs out. That includes our skin, our mucouses, and killer cells that kill everything that moves that isn't part of us. However, germs are very good at evading that. Some germs, the one we have vaccines for. There's a lot of germs that don't cause us to be sick, but the germs that we have vaccine for are the ones that historically have caused us to be very sick. Um, there's two ways we can get immune to that disease. One is the germ comes in, starts replicating. So the measles virus, we breathe it in, it starts replicating in our cells. It makes millions of copies of itself. Meanwhile, our immune system is working. It recognizes that we've been invaded, it's learning the virus, and it's starting to create a response to it. It's usually very good at it, but it takes time. So the virus has about a week or 2 weeks to take over our cells, damage our cells, create more copies of itself, and hurt our organs. Why do we get hurt? We get hurt when the virus is essentially killing our cells, and when it kills lung cells, etc. That's bad for us. Further, our immune system reacts in combative ways. So our immune system does, for example, it raises our body fever because a lot of germs die when the fever goes up, and our immune system works better. So our fever goes up, and that's not very pleasant, and it's disabling for us.
Hmm.
And our own immune system kills a lot of our cells as well. So the damage is partly the germ and partly our immune system. Because this takes 2 weeks before our immune system mounts a counter, before it learns the germ and creates antibodies, which are little keys that fit onto the germ and immobilize it so that the killer cells can eat it. Because it takes time, in the meantime, we can have damage. The virus has a chance, or the bacteria has a chance to kill or hurt us until our immune system gets up to scratch. The vaccine introduced something that makes the immune system think it's invaded without the virus or the bacteria actually multiplying and taking over. So we have a lower immune response before we have full battle. So it's not as damaging. If we have a fever, it's lower. We sometimes don't even have a fever. And we learn the germ without the risk of the disease. So natural immunity, again, is the usual one. And vaccine immunity is where we learn the germ before encountering it. Which is better? That depends. um, for many germs, natural immunity is long term and more effective because our body created a lot of antibodies and a lot of memory cells because we had to go to war with the germ. So it's a very vigorous immune response, and it may stay longer and keep us immune for longer,
Mhm.
but not for all diseases. And I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
From the vaccine, it might be a shorter, less durable immune response. But on the other hand, our body didn't have to go to war and we didn't face the risk of the disease. For some diseases, the immune system from the natural infection is not very good. So, for example, tetanus, the bacteria, our immune response is not to the bacteria, it's to the toxin, the poison it sets out. And our natural immune response, by the time we get a good immune response, a lot of us will be dead or at least seriously harmed. And it doesn't make us immune for the long term. It just doesn't. So we don't get natural immunity to tetanus. We do get it from the vaccine. For some diseases like HIV, I think it's true for HPV as well, but I'll be more careful about that. And some other diseases, our natural immunity is not very strong. So what we get from the vaccine is stronger. So it really varies by disease and by vaccine. So what's herd immunity? Infectious diseases are infectious. They jump from one person to another. If the person is already immune, they can kill the germ quickly enough that they can't spread to someone else. So herd immunity means that enough people in the population are immune that when the germ comes in, it doesn't have people to jump to and doesn't get a chance to spread.
Mhm.
You can get to herd immunity if you have an outbreak. So, for example, if you had measles growing in your community growing up, the only people that will still be vulnerable will be young babies. They will be vulnerable, but they have more of a chance of not getting the disease until they're old enough to deal with it than if they were in a population without any immunity. When measles come to an island that has never seen measles, it spreads like fire and it kills a lot of people. We had populations where tens of thousands of people died when measles was introduced usually by European settlers and spread like fire. So herd immunity can happen from an outbreak, but outbreak always leaves the newborns,
Mm.
which aren't immune. Or it can be if we have really high vaccine rates. The only way to achieve, I think, durable herd immunity is from vaccines because that way you can vaccinate babies,
Mm.
and you don't have a new vulnerable cohort every year. So herd immunity means enough people in the population are immune that the germ can't jump from one to another.
Yep. And then I guess just to sum it up, that's kind of, you want to get there because that's kind of how you guarantee the transmissibility of the virus is not something to worry about because it's going to get
Exactly.
into
So
enough of the
yeah,
people and die. Mhm.
yeah. So in the US, um, we still have people that don't vaccinate against polio, and we still have people for whom the vaccine against polio doesn't catch. It's a small percentage, but we have them.
Mm.
Um, and every year people come to us from countries that still have polio. So polio comes into the US every year, but because of herd immunity, it's not going to spread because chances are whoever those people come into contact with is immune. So the virus dies with them. It doesn't spread to anyone else. And
Awesome.
other
And
diseases, the same. Sorry.
oh, no, you're fine. The last question I wanted to ask is kind of just overarching with the things we've discussed, how you have people like RFK Jr. who's spreading kind of misinformation. There, at least in my circles, there's more of like an anti-science kind of feel where people are just growing skeptical of these things for what I would say is not much good reason, kind of just like incredulity more than anything. What do you think, or what would your message be to those who might be skeptic towards vaccines, specifically medical advancements, science as a whole? And what do you think it says about the state of public health if we keep going down this road?
So first of all, healthy skepticism to everyone is not a bad idea. You shouldn't trust anyone blindly. Um, but you should use that attitude towards Kennedy as well, especially since he has a history of saying things that are demonstrably untrue. Second, for vaccines at least, we are lucky to have a body of information that comes from a lot of sources. One or two of them might be lying, but all the countries in the world lying isn't very realistic. And I would add that refusing vaccines because you have reasons to mistrust science, even if they're great reasons, is a little bit cutting off your nose to spite your face because uh, your family are the one that isn't protected. Most of the people that are listening to RFK have been protected by their parents who gave them vaccines, and the children deserve the same vaccines.
And RFK Jr. vaccinates his kids as well for anyone.
He did.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. So his kids are adults. So
Okay.
it's been a long time since it came up for him. I
Mhm.
don't know if he'd vaccinate today. So I think that Mr. Kennedy is more than willing to lie in the cause, but I also think he believes the core tenet. He believes vaccines are bad.
Yep. Yeah, and just to the point that you made at the beginning, I agree. I think that both blind trust and blind skepticism are really bad things, and that's why I like science, because that's how you can
Yes.
ground things in empiricism and stuff. But I do, if there's, I don't know if you have like any projects or anything you want to shout out, anything like that, I want to give you the floor briefly to give you the chance.
Well, I've just written an op-ed about criticism of vaccine court that has been floating. Vaccine court isn't perfect, but it has advantages in that it's easier for people than the civil courts. And I want to encourage people to be careful about buying attacks on it.
Awesome. And if you want to email me that, I'm happy to link it in the description for anyone who wants
I'll
to
email
check it
you.
out. Awesome. And I want to thank you again for taking time to speak with us. It was a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again.
Thanks for talking to me.
Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day.